Hello, welcome to a new series on my channel. I've been looking forward to debuting this for quite some time. A very simple series, nothing flashy, nothing over the top, but just a simple set of topics that concern us as movie lovers, movie watchers, movie reviewers, and movie collectors. And the first thing I want to talk about is movie ratings and overhyping of movies within the movie reviewing community. Now, as it happens, I've been planning on making this video for a long time, but a couple of days ago, a YouTuber I follow called Cohen put up a video about basically everything I'm going to talk about in this video. So I'll leave a link to his channel down below and a link to his video talking about film ratings in the description. So if you want to go check that out, I encourage you to do so. He has a fantastic channel and does great videos. Anyway, film ratings. You know, what would you give this film out of 10? What would you give it out of 5, out of 4? You know, Roger Ebert very famously had a 4-star rating system. Letterboxd, which a lot of us use in the community, is a 5-star rating system. And I found over the years, and it really kind of cropped up, I suppose, in 2011 when I did my first Epic Film Challenge, which is where me and my fiance were going to try and watch 365 films in a year and make a video on them. And every time we did one, we'd say, right, what's your rating out of 10? You know, what would you give it out of 10? And I found that throughout that entire year reviewing over 300 movies, and well, I say reviewing, those videos looking back on them were terrible now, but you know, thoughts on the movies and the ratings at the end of them. You know, would I give many films less than 6 out of 10? Not really. Maybe just a handful. You know, I found that I would stick at, like, you know, if a film was just good, 7 out of 10. If it was really good, 8 out of 10. If it was great, 9. If it was awesome, 10. You know, I would never go to like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 1. You know, it just never seemed to happen. And last year, I think, no, even 2 years ago now, I did my Silent Movie Marathon 2. Which was an epic 9-hour-long video, although I did split it up into a mini-series as well, where I watched, like, I think 45 silent films and talked about them as I was watching them. And I had this huge crisis of, like, what am I doing? Because I was getting so caught up in, you know, oh, this is a great film. I give it a 10 out of 10, but is it really a 10 out of 10, though? I don't know. I feel like I should give it less. I don't know. And it was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous that I got caught up in this, whether I should give a film a 10 or not. And, you know, I very generously give out perfect ratings. And it doesn't mean that I think it's a perfect film. It just means that I've enjoyed it to its maximum. And that's another thing I want to talk about, is how we rate films. Do we rate them on personal enjoyment, or how good we think they are as a film and how they hold up to other people? Of course, films are very subjective. You know, one person's favorite film could be another person's least favorite film, and so on. For example, Last Action Hero, the 90s action film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. That, to me, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite films. Every single minute of that film is so enjoyable to me. I can watch it again and again and again, and it just gives me so much enjoyment, so much pleasure watching that film every time I watch it. So it's maximum enjoyment. It's 10 out of 10. Is it a 10 out of 10 film? Is it that great? Of course it isn't, you know. It's probably more like a 7 or an 8, something like that. And maybe even then some people think that would be pushing it, but you know, we all have our opinions. And you know, I still, you know, look at people's ratings of films and go, really? Really? He gave it that? You know, he gave that film 5 out of 5? Holy shit. You know, I judge like everyone else judges, but I've tried to, since that Silent Movie Marathon 2, when I had that kind of massive kind of breakdown almost about rating films, I decided to stop rating them in videos, you know, and I haven't done it for a long time, and I found it so liberating, so freeing to just talk about what I think about the film and not go into, you know, the brass tacks of what number I would give it, what score I would give it, you know. And you have these websites like Rotten Tomatoes and you know, the IMDb, you have the ratings and the top lists, and you know, Shawshank Redemption, the greatest film of all time. You know, I remember when The Dark Knight came out, you know, people spammed IMDb with rating it, and it became the #1 film of all time over The Godfather, you know, just after The Dark Knight had come out. And of course that kind of bumped down over time, but, you know, and I'm not saying that that was a crazy thing that was unwarranted. The Dark Knight's a great movie, but, you know, you have this kind of weird shift when a lot of people are talking about a film and saying how great it is and rating it so highly. Another one from recent years is Mad Max Fury Road. When that came out, people were like, holy shit, 10 out of 10, perfect, you know, best action film ever made. And I was like, really? Is that good? And I'll give that credit. I wouldn't have gone to see Mad Max Fury Road in the cinema if people hadn't been raving about it so much. I thought it was great, but not like a perfect film or a 10 out of 10 film. But then again, that's almost being a hypocrite, because I rate films on how I enjoy them, and surely that should be the case for other people as well. So it's a tricky area, but I've really enjoyed this past year or so of not really rating films. I have a Letterboxd, and I'll kind of throw up an arbitrary score. I don't think about it too much. I kind of go on my gut reaction and kind of just go from there and just kind of log it as a diary entry and then move on, and don't really think about it too much. But what are your thoughts? That's what I want to do, is open up a discussion about this, and that's what I want to do with these videos, talking about, you know, these topics that concern us as movie fans and all that good stuff. So let me know your thoughts on movie ratings, whether you think they affect your enjoyment of films. Does overhyping of movies that come out and people say this is an amazing, you know, perfect 10 out of 10 score film, you know, does that annoy you? You know, does that give you false expectations or false hope, and going into a film thinking it's going to be much better than it might turn out to be, and then you feel disappointed even though it was a very good film? That does happen, and it bothers me sometimes when I go into a film and I have these expectations that I don't want to have, but I can't ignore the hype that has been going up and building up for this film. It's hard to kind of, and the same can be for negative. Batman v Superman was absolutely panned. I thought it was a very good film. Wasn't great, but it was a very good, enjoyable film. You know, but you know, people panned that film, and it really affected the way that it was seen, the way that it, I suppose, performed. I mean, it made a shitload of money, but it didn't do the numbers I guess they were expecting or hoping. So these things really do kind of play into everything, and sometimes they don't. You know, you can look at a film like The Force Awakens. Didn't matter if people were going to give that 1 out of 10. It was still going to make billions of dollars anyway. So sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. There are smaller films that without the acclaim, people aren't going to go and see them. You know, and it does take word of mouth. Take a film like Captain Fantastic, a fantastic film that just came out. I'm just going to leave that in. A brilliant film from last year, and I would have never sought that out unless I'd heard people talking about how great it was and how brilliant it was and stuff, and so I wanted to see it based on that acclaim. So it does help sometimes, but as I said, I have enjoyed not really rating films and kind of just talking about them on my channel, you know, without having to give a rating at the end. And I feel like sometimes people, they read a review online and they just skip to the end and see, right, what's the rating out of 10? I'm guilty of it as well. Videos, they'll just skip to the end. Or what did they rate it at the end? You know, you have people like Jeremy Johns and Chris Stuckman who have their own rating system and whatever, and that I don't like that so much, because I just can't get a grasp on it. You know, they have their own buzzwords and it just doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm just kind of like, okay, but you know, I like just hearing thoughts on the film, and you can kind of almost just guess, approximate in your head what they would rate it based on what they're saying. And there's so many variables. There's the performances, there's the acting, and I tried to come up with a system last year where I was like, right, it's about characters, story, atmosphere, direction, and emotion, you know, and then I had this system that I was trying to work out, and it just kind of collapsed under its own weight. But you know, there's so many things to consider when rating a film. And so it's just infinite variables. Infinite variables. There's so many elements at play. It's so hard to, you know, there's no way to say that is the greatest film of all time, or that is the greatest film of this year. You just can't. You can't really make that claim, you know, outside of your own opinion. You know, that's all you can do, I think. And I've waffled on far too long about this topic, but it was something I felt quite passionately about, and that's about it, really. Yeah, and I kind of said to myself, because I have kind of felt like maybe it would be cool to kind of rein myself in when I rate films on Letterboxd and kind of only give the best of the best, you know, like a full score. But to me, you know, I don't like being that stingy, because if I love a film and I love everything about it, it's full marks, you know. And so in my own head, I have this thing where if a film goes above and beyond, and it is one of the greatest films I've ever seen, that to me is like an 11 out of 10. It's above like full score. It's like the full package. It's 6 stars out of 5, you know. So films like Seven Samurai would get a score like that. But, you know, it's just, yeah. As you can see, I still have a little bit of a quandary going on inside my own brain about this, but I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get a discussion going, and I'll see you in the next video.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans and calling into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause